All right, yeah. So we're recording. Um, how are you though?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Um,
Good.
yeah, I've like this week was like it was like low key stressful, but not really. Um, just cause like I've had to. So I've been going in a week, an hour early for the past week because my coworker is on vacation and my supervisor just needed someone to like help out and stuff. And he got a guy to cover, but he could only stay until 6, so he asked me to come in at 6, um, just to help him out. And I was like, yeah, like no problem. Um, but at the same time, it was like, all right, now I got to wake up earlier, and then I also I attempted to do at least like 15-minute workouts in the morning, which
Hmm.
was also intense. And by Wednesday, I think I was like, I'd kind of hit my wall. But I think for the most part, like it was good just because like as soon as Friday hit, I was like, all right, I'm on vacation this week, so like I just don't have to worry about work at all for a whole week, and like I haven't had a break at all. Like I've been working through the whole pandemic, so but yeah, I'm just kind of glad it's all over at least for a week. I can take a mental break away from the space, but yeah, that's
I
what I'm
feel that. Well, I'm glad that you got the week off so you can have some time to yourself, clear yourself, and get back to doing what you normally do. At
right.
least some type of normalcy.
Yeah. So what? How do you kind of define either like mental health or mental wellness? Like, how do you? What does that mean to you?
Um, like mental health is like so broad. There's so many. It's like an umbrella, and there's so many categories underneath it. And mental wellness is a completely different thing. I think to understand mental wellness, you have to understand mental health, and that in itself is um, not the exact definition, but just overall mental awareness of your emotions psychologically, um, your well-being, where your baseline is. Working with clients, it's and working with like yourself individually, you need to know where your baseline is. For example, like you just gave a little tidbit about your work life and how you have to go in an hour early, and by Wednesday you hit your wall, when usually you'd hit your wall, say what, like Friday,
Hmm.
Saturday,
Yeah.
right? So your baseline is you'd be able to work Monday through Friday, no problem. But with the added stress, your baseline is now, well, the added stress has caused you to now move your normal baseline up by 2 days. So for me, for example, I get annoyed very easily if like I ask someone to do something, um, and it's not done like at the time that I wanted to get done. I know that I get annoyed. So I'm learning to work on like if just being okay that it got done.
Yeah.
So my baseline is it needs to get done by the time I need it to get done. Um, but I know if that's not okay, that I'll be fine. When we're talking about severe mental illness, such as like schizophrenia, um, anxiety, depression, manic depression, and things of that nature, understanding your baseline and what's okay is is fine. Some people's baseline is they're on medications they have to take every day, and if they don't take that, then they can go either lower or higher.
Mhm.
And then mental wellness goes into the fact of you understanding where you are on the chart and you being okay with that and knowing the steps to take to get you back to your baseline.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That's actually really helpful because I wasn't like obviously I know that like it's two different words, so like there might be two different meanings. But yeah, so mental wellness is technically under the umbrella of mental health.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's the under the umbrella. It's mental wellness is what you do to take care of the mental health aspect. So like you've heard of self-care.
Yep.
That goes into mental wellness. You do things that allow you to get back to your baseline, or you do things to stop you from getting to a place where you're either depressed or anxious or nervous about something. If you know you're like having psychotic episodes, and you, if you do something that's going to get you to have a psychotic episode, you take care of that mental wellness so that you won't get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like self-care, you know, at the end of a hardworking day, you want to go have 1 or 2 drinks at the bar, you want to go dancing, you want to watch a movie, you want to do face masks, go get your nails done. Those are things that you do to prevent you from getting burnt out. So mental wellness is kind of the same thing as self-care.
Okay, gotcha. I like that. That's very helpful. I know for me, so I like that. Thank you for that. Have you seen, like, working with your clients, like, some of the best ways to kind of help people deal with their mental health, or help or help them practice mental wellness, in terms like whatever their situation might be? Like, is there a kind of like a few different ways people could go about handling it?
Definitely. I think the first thing to point out is that everyone's different. Just because you get diagnosed with the same thing that someone else does, everything's different. So what works for one person might not work for another person. But for example, I work with older people now, and they have their mind set in stone, because obviously, like, they're 60, 70, 80 years old. 25-year-old coming in and telling them, like, hey, this is what you need to work on, it's not going to run with them. So patience is definitely a key factor. Learning that you're not going to get cured, quote unquote cured, in a session. It doesn't work like that. Just doing things that make you happy, that are legal, of course, is a great benefit. If you know there are certain things that you like to do, if music calms you down, make sure you always have music handy. If coloring calms you down, make sure that that's a thing. As long as it's not done in excess. When you start doing things more than normal, that's when it becomes slightly of a problem. But just working with the individuals that I work with now, like, they're so unique. Some of them like music, some of them watch movies, some of them go for walks. One of my clients loves to bake things. She's always baking. She might not eat everything that she bakes, but it calms her down. So we encourage that. Just not being afraid to be open about what you're going through. I think that's a lot of things people take for granted, is being able to talk about what's going on. But of course, that goes in with the whole community of African Americans, where they think that talking about what's going on means that people are going to gossip, and it may lead to that. But when you have the right people around you, they're not going to talk bad about you. They're not going to spread your information. They're going to support you, and that's what everyone needs, especially people who have mental health problems, is support. So as long as you have a great support system and you're able to talk it out, usually 9 times out of 10, talking to someone brings someone's stress level down, like from an 8 to like a 5. Just talking about it and being able to be vocal about it and not have to keep things inside definitely helps. I know with me, I need a second to gather my thoughts, and then I'll go talk to somebody, because it can be overwhelming with you dealing with all the emotions and then having to talk to someone right there and there when they're asking you, like, what's wrong. It's just like, give me a second, I'll come find you when I need it. But just knowing that someone's willing to listen definitely helps. With all of my clients, like, they know they can call me at any time. I might not pick up all the time, because obviously I clock out at 5, but leave me a voicemail, and then I'll call them back and I'll be like, hey, what's going on? They're like, yeah, no, the voicemail was fine. I'll be like, okay, problem solved, that's fine. And that's great. Just finding someone to talk to definitely helps.
Right. Yeah. Because so I kind of fall into like a little bit of both, where I'll definitely like bottle stuff up, like just because I don't always want to talk about it, like, but if I do, like, sometimes I actually got this, like, I understood this concept more from from living with Armando, but like sometimes like I don't even need someone to really like kind of give me advice, because when I think like in anytime I have a situation, like I always know exactly what I'm gonna do. Like I always figure it out and stuff. So I just need someone to listen. Like you know what I mean? So I guess kind of that same thing. But yeah, like I don't need like I don't always need like advice and pointers. Like chances are, like if I'm talking to you, like I've already made up my mind. I just needed to kind of talk about it to help me feel a little bit better. But yeah,
And that's
I
great
think
that you pull
sorry.
that up. Sorry to cut you off, but
No,
that's
you're
great
good.
that you pull that up, because a lot of people think that counseling is someone giving you advice. Like that's not what it is at all. We do a lot of reflection, and what that is the easiest way to explain it is if you're ever watching a movie and someone's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to counseling," and you see a therapist and they're sitting on a chair and they're like, "Well, how do you feel about that?" We don't say that. We usually reflect. So with reflection, for example, you at the beginning of this, you stated that you were burnt out. So me reflecting that would be like, okay, well, you're saying that you're burnt out because of you going into work early. I'd stop right there. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
question, it's a statement reflecting what you just told me, to make sure, one, I heard you correctly, two, to make sure that you are conveying what you're feeling. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and you just correct me. And if I'm right, you think on that statement, and then you'll come out with whatever is next. It's
Yeah.
not me telling you what to do, and that's definitely not what counseling is. And counselors are urged not to do that, because once you start with the, oh yeah, that's great that you're doing this and this. How about you do this next? You're not going to go looking for answers yourself. You're just going to come to the next session like, okay, well, Gabbie, what do I need to do next? And it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you that. And that's where I think a lot of people don't go to their friends, especially like their long-term friends, because as soon as they tell them something, they're going to be like, oh, well, I told you to stop messing with this dude like how many years ago, and here you are still. No one wants to hear that.
Right.
Just shut your mouth, sit there and listen, because like you said, half the time when you're going to talk to someone, you have made the conscious decision to open your mouth and say what's on your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and no one is going to convince you otherwise. It's either they're going to agree with you or they're not going to agree with you, and worst case scenario, if they don't agree with you, you're just going to get more upset.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they agree with you and you're looking for a disagreement, again, you're going to get more upset. So that's a lose-lose situation. So most of the times, if you're a friend who loves to listen to people and give advice, I would say continue the listening part. Just shut your mouth. You don't need to, unless advice is asked.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, you still have to be selective with your words, because you don't want to, again, put something into motion where someone has to keep coming to you for
Mm-hmm.
answers. That's not what you want. Which is, I don't know if you see that meme going around, or like that video where someone's going to someone for advice and they're like, but that's you though. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to
Mm-hmm.
do, but that's
Yeah.
you. Like, that's basically what counseling is. Like, I'll reflect what you told me, and if you ask for advice, I'll give it to you, but the decision's on you. Don't
Mm-hmm.
listen to me. It's 100% on you. And that's, if you're going to be a friend counselor, then you should definitely use that line a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely said that. Like I just made it clear. Like I'm just here, like just telling you what I think, but like this is just what I would do. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and that's something that I also hold true to myself, because even if I were to go to someone for advice, at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to make the decision. So it's like I'm not gonna put blame on that person because they told me to do that. Like that was just maybe even a suggestion, but it was still up to me to make the conscious decision of what to do. Um, yeah, and I actually think that like a lot of people, like if you are going through something, like counseling definitely helps. Like senior year, when like literally everything was hitting the fan, like I didn't know if I was gonna be done on time. I know if like my classes, I was like, man, this is all going crazy. And then yeah, like I had a whole panic attack, and then I went to therapy. I think it was or counseling, I think for like, it was only like a month and a half or so. But like I felt so much better, like going into the summer and everything. Like,
I remember because I was definitely pushing for you. It was like, just go speak to someone. You're like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm like, just go speak. The worst thing that's gonna happen is you're not gonna like it, and
right.
then boom, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I stress that a lot. The first counselor you meet may not be the correct one, and that's fine. You go shopping for a counselor like you go shopping for a car. You find one that fits you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not going to get offended. You just say, hey, I don't think we're working out. That's fine. They'll send you to their other, you know, individuals. And then you just shop around. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can go on psychologytoday.com and you can literally filter for gender, specialties. I don't know if they have race in there, but every counselor has to take a picture. You can
Mm-hmm.
see what they look like.
Right.
You sit down for a session, you don't like it, on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy. I see a lot of times people go to one counselor and they're like, yeah, it didn't really work for me. They weren't really vibing with me, and then they just don't go again. Don't do that. Do not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Go in, doesn't work out, go find another one. Um, because worst case scenario, if you stick with the original one, you're not going to fully open up.
Right.
And that's the key to success of counseling. You need to open up. You need to trust. I hate that I'm saying this because they say it all throughout my school, is trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Because counseling is a process.
Yeah.
It's not a one-stop shop. You're not going to go in and get out the same day and be like, oh, well, here's everything. You'll probably leave having more questions, but
Mm-hmm.
that's good because you have some quote unquote homework to do that you can think on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but I feel like with some people, well, with some situations, like I know it's a little harder for, at least for like kind of like our generation, where people don't really know how to communicate and stuff. So that's another factor that plays into, oh, like that didn't work out for me, so I'm just not gonna do that. Instead of, you know, having a like a verbal conversation and just telling them what it is, like straight up. And I think that's something that needs to be stressed more, because that can prevent a lot of issues like down the road and stuff. Like because I know for me, like anytime, like I could read a message and like, you know, like obviously like you don't know how like their tone and stuff. So I'll read a message and like I'll freak out in my head, but I won't say anything because like I'm just like, oh snap, like what do they mean? And you know, like that's very like detrimental. So definitely like asking for clarification. I do it at work. Like I do it so much more at work now. Like before I didn't. Like I would just kind of go with it and not ask questions. But like asking questions, like it really helps. Like I don't even care anymore. It's like if I need the clarification, like I'm always gonna ask for it.
It's better to ask than not ask at all, and then you sit there, because what that does is you sit there and start to internalize things,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not even internalizing the main issue. You're internalizing everything else that you've been thinking about your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ever notice that, like, if you don't ask for clarity, like a text message, for example, which is why I do not like arguing over text message.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do it. I will call you right up. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want to speak to me right there. Call me when you can. I'm not arguing with over. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
One, because like you said, tone. You can't read tone through a text message. Yeah, you can go all caps, but all caps could mean excitement,
Mm-hmm.
anger. Like, you don't know. But asking a question over the phone where you can hear someone's vocal tone, I mean, it doesn't really help if, you know, someone's always snappy or has a negative tone on the phone. That doesn't help either, but at least it's better than a text message.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you read a text message through an argument, even if you're not arguing, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to read a text message in a bad mood, and then you start saying, okay, like, why is she or he coming at me? And then you're going to start internalizing, okay, well, what did we do? Like, what did I do? Like, nah, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, no, we didn't have a fight. Like, no, we didn't have an
Mm-hmm.
argument. No, everything was fine. And then you start internalizing. And then you start thinking about all the things that you could have done better. And then that just puts a whole nother layer of, okay, maybe I messed up and then I'm not good enough and stuff like that. So there's layers to it. So if you have a disagreement with someone, pick up the phone and call. And I think in this age of social media, people get wrapped up in the positives of everyone posting their life, because no one posts the negative. No one wants to see negative stuff. Like, we live through negativity all our, like, every day in the world. Why are you going to post something negative? No one's going to post anything about that. So if all you see is positive, 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 and you come across like an individual that you're not reading the text message right, and you think like, oh my God, they must be something wrong. And then you look at their like social media and it's all happy go lucky, and you're like, okay, well, they're fine. So what's wrong with me? When in fact, there's nothing wrong. You just read something the wrong way instead of asking a question.
Right.
And people get snappy when questions are asked. Like, I know I get snappy when questions are asked sometimes, because no one's used to asking questions. They just say okay and then do what they got to do. So like, I'm learning when someone asks a question, like, I mean, general questions, not like a question that I don't know the answer to.
Right.
But general questions, and I need to relax and just answer it the best way I can. If I can't, then I just say I don't know, and keep it pushing. But never be afraid to ask a question. Like, there are no dumb questions. Literally, no. There are no stupid questions, no dumb questions. You might get a dumb answer, but at least you asked the question.
Right. Because like there's times where because like I'm one of those people that's kind of like, if someone says something to me, like my mom could text me something and like I'll read it and like I know exactly, like, all right, like I gotta do this, like but then she'll be like, oh, like you didn't respond, I don't know if you saw it and stuff, and I'm like, it, like in my head I'm like I'm on my phone all the time, like, yeah, of course I saw it, like, you know, but to her it's more of like I just need a response to let me know that you saw it. It's like two different thought processes, but like, yeah, like sometimes like even like small stuff like that helps. But,
right.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
And that goes into communication and clarification. The way you communicate isn't the way that your mom communicates, and that's not the way the world communicates. Everyone communicates differently.
Right.
And to understand that, you need to ask the questions. How do you communicate? Like, how would our relationship be better communication wise? Like, what do you like doing? What do you not like that I do? And you guys like work it out. And that's with any relationship: brother, sister, cousin, best friend, acquaintance, work relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, husbands, anyone. Communication definitely helps, but you have to understand how people communicate, because it's not the same. And that's with a lot of things. The way your work ethic isn't the same way someone else's work ethic is. The way someone else's mental health isn't the same way that of someone else's mental health. It's everyone's different. And I think once people start seeing that everyone's different and doesn't have the same thought processes that they do, we can get so much further in life.
So what kind of made you want to go into like psychology?
Well, to be honest, it was my second choice. I wanted to go to med school, but then I sat down and thought about it. Like, I was not trying to spend 8+ years in school. I like learning to a degree. I don't like repetitive learning. I don't like sitting in a classroom and a teacher's like, read chapter 3 to 4 and then answer these questions, and there's only one answer to the question. I don't like that. Med school is like that. You know, someone has a heart murmur, obviously it's coming from the heart. You have asthma for 20 years and you're still smoking a pack of cigarettes, odds are your lungs don't work. Straight answer. That's good for certain things. I am not a black and white type of person. I'm more like a gray. Like, everything has a reason to it. People have reasons to it. People have reasons of why they do things. And I think that's what got me into it, because I like to analyze why people make the decisions that they do. Um, like why someone chose to react this way instead of this way. You know what I mean? I like to think about that. I like to understand um, why people bottle up emotions, because I bottle up my emotions like all. I'm obviously learning. It's not like I said. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I was younger, I would not talk. I wouldn't express myself because I thought it would be easier on everybody else if I didn't express my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it turned out that it's not easier because people keep asking me like, "What's wrong?" And of course, I get frustrated if I tell you nothing's wrong and you keep asking me. I'm gonna get mad. So then anger gets a play into that. Um, so I thought back on like, why did I not just express myself? And the answer was because I didn't want anyone else to worry about me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I didn't want them to have like a full plate. So that was my thought process on it. And obviously that thought process was wrong because everyone needs a support system.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of got me into wanting to understand and have other people understand why they do the things they do and a better way to process their emotions and thoughts in a positive way instead of a negative way, especially in the African American community, because we treat mental health like it's a phase. And it's not a phase. Some people can go through mental illnesses for a lifetime. Sometimes it's shorter than that with the right treatment and the right help. But most of the time, it's not a 1, 2, 3. Here's what's wrong. Here's some meds. Take it and go.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is a growing field, so there's still a lot to learn, just like in any other field. But I primarily want to work with like first generation kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because being that my mom's from Haiti, she wasn't taught to her. One, because I sought the education myself, and two, because an African American community talking about mental health, the first thing they'll say to you is go pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sorry, but I've been praying and nothing's working.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the next step? And the next step is to talk about it, to find a counselor to talk about it. Go to your primary care, talk about it. It doesn't have to be a counselor. You can talk to your primary care. There, most of the time, primary cares are not well versed, but versed to a specific point where they can understand what's going on with you and send you recommendations to other people. Just like if you have a broken bone, they will send you to a bone specialist. If you have a heart problem, they'll send you to a cardiologist, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
They can send you to a mental health counselor or a psychiatrist or a therapist. There's differences in those as well. So they can do that. But that's why I got into it. I started watching a lot of shows like Criminal Minds, which again leads with the backstory of why people do the things they do. Not necessarily I wanted to look at like serial killers, but just the thought processes and how they thought what they were doing was kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weirded me out, but it was also interesting because when you think of a normal person, you think of like someone who gets a job, works for a living, wants to start a family, house, retire,
Mm-hmm.
move to Florida type stuff. You don't think, oh well, let me go kill everybody who has green eyes. That's not
Mm-hmm.
normal. So I wanted to see like why they thought that was normal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got into it. I took my first psych class in high school, and the teacher sucked, but the content was interesting, and I kind of just moved on from there.
Good, good stuff. Um, so I'm gonna kind of like uh take a turn here. So, how to like for someone like celebrities and stuff who deal with like mental illnesses or social, I don't know if no, not social illness, but like social anxiety and stuff like that. Like I think it's Summer Walker who like she has anxiety and stuff, or like even like on the other side of the spectrum, Kanye, you know, like with the whole like running for president thing, like how do you like, all right, so yeah, we'll go with Kanye. But like, so what do you think is like, do you think it's an episode that he's having? What's going on with him?
Kanye definitely has been having some this I'm not going to say the scientific word because I can't diagnose him because I don't have my doctorate degree. But he's going through something that's similar to a psychotic breakdown. Mm-hmm. It's common, just not to that I don't want to say to that extreme because I don't know what his baseline is. Mm-hmm. Because he's been in the limelight so long that I don't think he even knows what his baseline is. We think of his baseline as Kanye being quiet, like mm-hmm. drop an album, promo, quiet. Whereas that may not be his baseline. That may be him suppressing all the things that he wants to talk about. Mm-hmm. So right now he's on kind of like a rant. Mm-hmm. And that could be from him suppressing years and years of mental illness that he hasn't acknowledged. And then on top of that, his mom dying is definitely like a trigger, which triggered a psychotic episode. And then people you have people laughing at you and judging you, which is normal to a celebrity. But when you're going through something that traumatic, it's just more triggers. So for example, Kim didn't acknowledge anything because acknowledgement from her could have triggered something even more mm-hmm. in Kanye. So her keeping quiet, I thought was a great tidbit. And then her reaching out to him personally is great. He had support. I think Justin Bieber went out to see him mm-hmm. and someone else went out to see him to check on him. That's great. Because even though they may not want to communicate, having that support group around you just physically can help. You don't mm-hmm. have to touch them. You don't have to hold them down. Just being there because they can see that, okay, well, I may be going through something, but I have my support here. So mm-hmm. even though Kim didn't stay with Kanye, she went there to check in. Like I said, I don't know what he's diagnosed with per se. I think Kim said like anxiety and depression. I don't know. I'm not his doctor, but he definitely needs support and just the added like laughing and so like again, he's a celebrity, so he's used to it. But in this state, it's going to be hard for him. Those are triggers. Mm-hmm. That's like you throwing a party for an alcoholic, even though there's no alcohol there. You still have all the elements of a regular party
right.
without the alcohol. That's not going to, it deters from drinking alcohol, but you still have the flashing lights, the music, the people, mm-hmm. red Solo cups. They might not be filled with alcohol, but they're still filled. Just because it's not there doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what Kanye is going through. Summer Walker's completely different in a sense where she says she has social anxiety, which is fine, but people think that social anxiety means that she shouldn't be having concerts at all, which mm-hmm. isn't the case. Certain things in certain places trigger someone's anxiety. So she can have like 1 or 2, 3 concerts, and then after that be like, just like you, burnt out on Wednesday, burnt out after 3 or 4 and be like, nah, I'm good. I can't handle it anymore. Especially if she's doing meet and greets, meeting fans, having to do rehearsals, traveling from place to place. She's not in her element. She's not in her safe space. So if she don't want to do any freaking concert, leave the girl alone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's with celebrities, people think that they have to act a certain way. When Britney had a psychotic episode, people are like, oh my God, what's happening? Like y'all dog her in and out every day. And then she finally breaks down and you're surprised. Mm-hmm. I never understood that. Kanye, this ain't nothing new for Kanye. Mm-hmm. He's been crazy not crazy, but like crazy active his whole life. I think he's even said he's been like out there since he was a boy. It's nothing new. It's just mm-hmm. people are making fun of it and people are aware of it now. So they're gonna roll with the punches, and then he's gonna be trending. And then he has, I feel like Kanye has some snippet of, um, what's it called? I'm blanking out on the word. It starts with an N. I'm totally blanking out. But he has some snippet of watch. I mean, the word's gonna come to me. But he has some snippet of like self-centeredness. So when he's trending, he's like, "Oh, I gotta amp it up because I gotta give the people what they want."
Gotcha.
And that doesn't help his psychotic episode
Right.
at all. Like that just makes it a whole lot worse. Instead of people just ignore, just like 45. If people ignored him, he wouldn't be acting up.
45.
I'm not gonna say his name.
Oh, okay. I'm like, okay.
If people ignored him, it would be fine.
Yeah.
Just like if people ignored Kanye, he'd get the help he needed,
Mm.
and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot. I'm not saying to ignore, the mental illness behind it. That's never the case. You should never ignore it. But with someone like him, you got to ignore it because you guys are just feeding into the popularity of it and not getting to the root of the problem, which is the mental illness.
Yeah. Cause like I know, like for me, like the whole, like I said, like I definitely, like I love Kanye, like as a producer and as an artist. Like I really think like he's one of my favorite of all time. So like I'm, like I'll still support him in that way. Like his political views and stuff like that. Like that's not, I keep it separate just because like, yeah, he did that, but like I'm not gonna let that take me away from the fact that the Kanye that I listened to when I was younger and like even now, like I don't know, I feel like it's two different people. You know what I
And you
mean?
can definitely separate them. You can separate the two. You can separate someone's craft from their individual person. I still love Michael Jackson to death, and the only reason I'm mentioning that is because I see him in the background
Oh
for you.
yeah. Right
I
there.
love him to death. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Am I going to denounce what all those people are accusing him of? No. Do I agree with it? Like I said, I wasn't there. Do I still love his music and bump him every day? Yes, I do. R. Kelly, great musician, individual.
Right.
I'm not going to comment on that because I wasn't there. Am I going to denounce what everyone's claiming him to do? No, I'm not going to say that because, again, I wasn't there. Do I respect him as a musician? 100%. Do I respect Michael Jackson as a musician? 100%. Kanye, yes, some bangers. His mental state right now needs some help. And that's okay. You can separate the individual from their craft, but when you do that, you have to understand that the mental illness goes with the individual. It doesn't go with their craft.
Right.
And then you also have to think he's having psychotic episodes, so what he may be saying, it can be true, but there also is a level of cloudiness to it because he's not in the right state of mind. So you got to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Because, like there's the whole like cancel culture and stuff like that, which is definitely like kind of absurd. And, it's definitely more of like a trend that pops up every now and then. Like how long have people been saying, like when Kanye first started supporting Trump and stuff, people cancel Kanye, cancel.
But
I was like, okay.
As soon as the new shoes dropped, I gotta get the Yeezys.
Like people was definitely still streaming his album and stuff. Like I don't get it. And like what was it?
Everybody's been canceled at least once.
Yeah,
they
like
trying to cancel Kehlani now because of what's his face did. I forget his name. To Megan.
Oh, Tory.
Yeah, trying to cancel Kehlani because the song has been out with Tory. I think the song is called "Can I?" Yeah, the song's been out with Tory, and like now you need to take him off. You know how much money that cost to take someone off a song? It's
Like,
just, people have been canceling people since the beginning of time.
mm-hmm,
And for me, it's like, if you're going to cancel one person because of this thing, you need to go through the list. If you're
mm-hmm,
going to cancel Kanye because of his political views, then you need to cancel Michael Jordan because he supports prison systems.
mm-hmm,
Like, you can't pick and choose. And I think that's a lot of what the African American community does. They
mm-hmm.
pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. If you're going to
Right.
cancel, you need to cancel everything.
Because like it just doesn't work. Like, like you said, like, yeah, R. Kelly as a person, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But if it is, I don't agree with it. But as his music, I'm not gonna deny and sit here and lie that he did not make great music. So like, why, huh? But
Right.
um, yeah, that's just like a whole thing that I feel like we got to work on, like, as a whole, because like you said, like, if you're gonna cancel one person, you gotta cancel like everything that kind of goes against whatever you stand on, because like picking and choosing doesn't help at all.
It doesn't fly. It blurs the lines.
Yeah.
And then if someone asks you your opinion on something and you give them your opinion and they have a rebuttal, like, okay, well, what about such and such? Like I just said, people are trying to cancel Kanye West. And if I ask you, like, why don't you cancel Michael Jordan as well? They automatically get offended
Mm-hmm.
and they get angry. And you have every right to get offended and angry, but I'm asking you a simple question. You need to understand that you're getting angry because you understand that where I'm coming from, I'm kind of correct.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's no need to get hostile. We can have a general conversation with good communication
Mm-hmm.
without getting hostile, but they just don't understand that because they're so quick to cancel people.
Yeah. And that's a big thing too. I actually saw this the other day. So Phil posted something. It was like, oh, like, Forex, I'm not interested in your opportunity and stuff. And someone commented, and she was upset because she's invested in Forex and stuff. And like, there's nothing wrong with Forex, but like sometimes, like, you get the wrong, like, some people just use it for the wrong things. So like, yeah, it has that negative name to it. But like, by all means, like, however you get your money, do whatever you got to do. But she was really upset, and she's coming at Phil and trying to like hit him with facts and stuff. Like, you don't know anything about like how are you a finance major and you don't know anything about like the stock market, and like, what I like, kind of going back to what you're saying is like, he like Phil was just replying in like one word sentences, like, not even, he really wasn't stressing it, but she was typing like 3 paragraph responses and stuff, and it's like, all right, so because in my head, like, yeah, I think that same way. It's like, all right, like, if you're this upset about it, you have to know that the other person is in some way,
Slightly right,
yeah,
or you have to be like, what is wrong with you, that the fact that you need to come at somebody for simply state
yeah,
a statement.
like you're that bothered. And honestly, I can say I've done it. Like, I've been the person who like responds in anger and stuff, and like, I think it, like, in my situation, it was me, because I'm like, it was about like support in Boston and stuff, and I was upset because like, I was like, damn, you're right, but like, I'm trying to, like, I'm trying to change, I'm trying to make a change. So like, that was my biggest thing. It's like, all right, like, you complain about it, but what are you doing to, you know? And
Right. But see, with your statement right there, you said that you understood that they were right.
mm-hmm,
However, you felt some type of way.
yeah,
It wasn't towards the person. You weren't belittling the person. You weren't coming at the person. It's because you felt a certain way.
mm-hmm,
And I think it goes back to, again, communication and understanding. And one of the things I love saying is, are you listening or are you hearing? Because those are two different
yep,
things.
they are.
Listening means that you need to be open to whatever someone has to say.
Mm-hmm,
You have to be open to not talking, just listening, understanding what they're saying. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to understand and value what you're saying. Do
mm-hmm,
I agree with you? No. Do I value your opinion? Yes. Hearing is you literally just looking at someone and it's going through one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
You don't understand. You're just there to listen, and then you're just going to give your 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not there to have a conversation. You were there to talk.
Right.
And someone, if it's the opposite way, you're just being talked at. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
being talked at, which is what a lot of children go through, you're talking at a child instead of communicating with the child. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of pushback for that, because they're going to be like, you're under 18, you're a child. No. But if you're getting talked at, you're less receptive
Mm-hmm.
to any information you're getting. Like, if you're telling me to do something your way and not how I feel comfortable doing, it's no. Like, are you done? Are you done speaking? Can I go now? Okay. That's it. And I think that's where a lot of mental health issues come into play, emotional issues come into play, and anger issues come into play. If you're talking at someone and you feel like they're not hearing you, you're gonna get upset.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you talk, you're gonna yell.
Yeah.
That's not communication. That's not communicating through social media at all. And like I said, I hate long paragraphs through social media. I think the only long paragraph that's warranted through social media is if it's a racial thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, analyze the person you're talking to, go on their profile, see what they look like. And if they look like they ain't changing their mind, don't waste your breath, because you're just going to get upset.
Man, that's a gem right there. Cause like, I'm the middle child. I have to be rebellious. Like I just like, I don't know. Cause I was never one to, I don't like being yelled at. I don't mind, like, if I'm asked to do something, it's like, all right, like, but the more I'm asked to do it, it's like, all right, like, I'm not going to want to do it. And like, I like to do things my way, because people who say, oh, can you do this? And then I do it. And they're like, why'd you do it like this? Why didn't you do it? Because you asked me to do it. Like,
right.
you're like, if you don't like the way I do it or something like that, you can do it yourself by all
Or
means.
explain how you want it to be done.
And you know
communicate
what I mean?
how you want it to be done.
It's really simple like that, because that can actually get rid of a whole lot of problems. Just simply communicating how you want it done and stuff. Like, the best way to go about it, okay, I'll be more receptive, but like, don't just criticize
Tell
me for
me,
doing something my
right.
way and stuff. And that's gonna make, like, I'm gonna be less likely to want to do
To
it.
do it in the future.
Yeah.
You're going to resent being asked.
Mm-hmm.
And then you harbor those feelings.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever gotten into an argument with your mom where she's asked you to do something?
Yes.
And you're like, okay, but she doesn't tell you when she wants it done.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, all right, I'll do it when either I go to the location where it needs to get done, and then I'll do it. So she leaves for a couple of hours. She comes back. Like, honey, why isn't this done? It's gonna get done. You just didn't tell me when I need to get done. So one, you start getting mad at your mom, but you can't let her show it, because
Mm-hmm.
God forbid you get mad at your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And you come at her, that's a whole other thing. So you're harboring the anger inside. You go do what you need to get done, but now you're not doing it to your full potential because you're upset.
Mm-hmm.
You're angry. You're just doing it so you don't have to hear her talk again. So then you go do it, you come back upstairs, and then she calls you back saying it's not done how you want it to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to hate doing whatever she's going to ask in the future, and now your relationship is now strained.
Yeah. But I think that's also like another, well, kind of going back just a little bit on what you said, like, that's that whole power structure, that like that's actually like a very disgusting thing, because it's like, oh, do this because I told you. Like, that's no, that doesn't help. Like, yeah, you're my parent, okay, like, but just because you're my parent, like, you shouldn't have that as your because, like, that's not,
Right.
I don't know,
Right.
that's not a,
I think with my mom, she learned that telling us to do something because didn't work for us anymore. So she starting instilling, like, to my brothers, okay, well, the dishes need to get done.
mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, okay, well, why do I have to do them? It's like, because you live here and you also use the dishes. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, now imagine if you guys were hungry and I didn't cook. Who's going to cook?
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of instilled it in us that way. Like, okay, you don't want to do the dishes? That's fine. You don't have to do the dishes, but who else is going to do them when you need a cup to drink juice out of?
Mm-hmm.
And you start thinking like, oh crap, you're right.
Right.
Now I got to do the dishes. Or who wants to shower in a dirty shower? Nobody. I'm not going to clean it for you. So you need to step up and clean it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where we've adjusted to, well, not we, because I do things now on my own. But like my younger brothers have adjusted to doing things not because they're told. I mean, also because they're told to do so, but because they understand that it needs to get done for the
Mm-hmm.
well-being of the whole household, not just because you were told to get it done.
Right.
Taking the trash out, I think my brothers now understand that the trash needs to get taken out, and we've stopped. I mean, we had to remind them now because of Corona and everyone's on Corona time. But prior, the trash would start smelling, and they'd come downstairs like, "What's that smell?" Like, I don't know. What is the smell?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's the trash. I forgot to take it out. Boom, they took the trash out.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to smell
Mm-hmm.
the nastiness.
Yeah.
I think that's another. I mean, I'm not a parent. Do I want kids? Yeah, and I think that's what I'm gonna instill in them. Like, you're gonna do things that because you want to do them and you understand the value of doing them, not because I told you to do it. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have my fun with like, can you get me the remote right there? But like, I'll tell them that it's a joke. Like, I'm joking. Like, yeah, I could have got it myself, but I'm having fun.
Yeah.
But then you also have to like teach your kids that it's okay to do things their way. Because I think if I had that when I first started doing chores, I would have been fine. Because I know when I was told to do certain things, I would half-ass. Like, okay, you want me to do the dishes? Fine, I'm gonna do the dishes, but I'm only do the dishes in the sink. Like, I'm not gonna go to the stove and grab the dishes on the stove. Because just the way I was asked was just, well, not asked, but told. Like, hey, Gabbie, do you mind doing the dishes? No, I don't mind. I will do the dishes for you. No, go do the dishes. Like, I'll do them, but you ain't gonna like the way I do it. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a different dynamic if you get asked to do something. Asked once, maybe twice for a reminder.
Yeah.
More than that, no.
I agree.
But it's just a learning process, and it's a cycle in that continues, because if you learn it from your parent, then you're gonna do it to your kids. Which brings us back to like the main topic of mental health. If your parents have mental health that they didn't get situated, you're just gonna think like, it's okay that I'm feeling this way, continue to keep feeling that way, and it's not. And I think the sooner people break the cycle in their family, the better it is, especially talking about your emotions, because a lot of African American males are told it's okay to hide your emotion, or it's okay to not show your emotion. That's not fun. That's not fun, because what happens then when you don't show when you're told growing up you shouldn't show your emotions, when you get into a relationship and your significant other is trying to ask you to open up, you're gonna be like, nah, because I was told not to show my emotions. So no, I'm not gonna talk to you the way I need to talk to you. It's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna keep pushing. And then what happens? You don't know the person you're in a relationship with because they haven't opened up to you the way that they need to.
Right.
And then y'all have kids, and then boom, the cycle continues. Man up. You don't need to cry. You get it? It's never ending. So people need to make it okay to show your emotions. Like, when I call my friends that I'm close with, we hang up the phone. I love you. I'm not afraid to say that. You good? My brother literally tells me he loves me every single day. And do I find it annoying sometimes? Yes. But then I think about it like, well, what if he wasn't here to say it? I'd miss it.
Yeah.
Or what if you didn't have that friend to check in? You'd miss it.
Yeah. I've definitely like tried to like in my like my guys and stuff, like I feel like we've kind of gotten to a space, at least me and Phil, like we're more open to, saying it Yeah, like I'll be able I can text Phil right now and just be like, yo, bro, like I love you. Like on some real stuff because I know like that's my brother and like we like
It doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need to be
exactly
explained.
like
You can just
that's
do it and they'll be like, okay, love you too. That's it.
exactly, you know. We literally had that conversation like a couple weeks ago. It was like, yo, bro, like I don't even have to say it, like you know. And I was like we just like we're both on the same page, and like I really do like that. Like we don't always have to explain everything or like we just have that understanding, which is great. Um,
Right.
but yeah, no, that's important. Um, and then so I'll take a couple of steps backwards, going back to kind of like the social anxiety and stuff, because I did want to like touch on that too, um, because I know there's definitely people who will be out somewhere, and then their social battery is just depleted, and that's a big thing because that's like the whole thing, especially like so networking is kind of like that's kind of like where I'm at. Like I go to events to network and stuff and like meet people, um, but I'm not an extrovert. Like it's very hard for me to go out somewhere. Like if I do go out somewhere, chances are I'm probably going to be in the back of the room or like back of the event, whatever, and just be like, oh, like that's so and so, that's so and so. You know what I mean? Like just saying it to myself. But some people I might be able to to go up to say hi, say what's up. But like I remember I went to one event back in February, and this is like because I always go out with like anytime like I went to an event, I would always go with Kaya, but so I went to this one alone, and literally like it was just room full of people. Like I follow these people, and like I know who they are. Like I'm literally looking around the room, like okay, that's so and so, that's so and so, and like one of my friends came up to me and she's like, "Oh, how you doing?" and stuff, and like like I actually like checked in and stuff, like we were cool, it was nice to catch up, but then it literally got to a point. I think it was like halfway through the show. I was like I just felt so nervous, like just kind of being there and stuff, and I was like, "Yo, like I think what it was like I was kind of in shock because I was like I'm really here with all these people, like all these artists from Boston who do great stuff, and like I haven't even made a dent yet. So like to me, I was kind of like, damn, dude, like am I really supposed to be here? You know what I mean? Like I was kind of doubting myself. Um, but like that was because there were like so many people like I really could have networked with, but I was so in my own head. I was like, dang, like I really don't know like if I belong here. Like I don't want to talk to these people, not because I don't like them, but because I'm nervous of what would come from it and stuff. Like I was psyching myself out. But
Yeah. And that's completely normal.
yeah,
Completely normal.
yeah, that was just I do think that something that we do gotta kind of work on more because like when I feel more relaxed and more likely to talk to people when I'm out with people I know or something like that, so it just helps with comfort because me like even if I do go out with people, I don't always have to talk, right? Like I can just the fact that I'm present with them is kind of enough, and like I'm fine with that. Like I just like being in the presence of people I love. So I'd prefer that than going out and like having to force myself. Like granted, it is good to kind of work on those skills, and like my coworker actually tells me that to talk to people more and stuff to kind of get that to build that confidence like within myself. But I don't know, like
It's hard, yeah.
yeah, but it's a work in progress. I will say that.
Yeah, it's and it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way. Like, I hate public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I hate making telephone calls, like making appointments. I hate it because I feel like I'm not going to say the right thing, and then I'm going to get questioned. Like, okay, well, what do you like? Is she stupid? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that. It's just I trip myself up,
Yeah.
and I hate making phone calls. Don't ask me to order dinner if they don't have an online online ordering thing. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Will I work myself up to it sometimes? Yeah, because I want to see if I can do it and if I can get it correct. Um, Working with the clients, I have to do home visits. I hate home visits. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I get nervous before every single one. So I have like a little routine where I play music um, before I go, and like I'll chew a piece of gum, and then I'll show up to the person's house and I'll wait outside for like a good minute, and then I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. Um, One, because I'm there to do a job. Two, because this is what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
You as an entertainer have signed up for networking. This is something that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do I hate going to events? Most of the time, yes, because just like you, I psych myself up. I'm gonna be like, okay, well, these people are gonna be staring at me. Like, what if I say the wrong thing? Do I look okay?
Mm-hmm.
You start psychoanalyzing yourself. Um, when I go out with people who, one, I know are either more introverted than I am, or so extroverted that they will drag me to people to talk, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm forced to talk.
Yeah.
Um, I work well under pressure. I don't know about you, but I work really well under pressure. So if I get those people who drag me to individuals and I'm forced to talk, I will talk.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I get the super introverted individuals like James, where I'm forced to talk sometimes, then I have to step up and do the talking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's pushed me to understand, like, okay, here are my limits. And then, like, I can talk to a good 3 or 4 people. And then I have to sit back, like go to the back of the room
Mm-hmm.
and calm myself down, either get a drink or get a snack to eat. And then I'll go back out when I feel like I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or if I feel like a mood change. Like, if it's quiet, you know how every party is like quiet at the beginning, and then there's
Yeah.
that one person who gets people amped up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, if it's a party setting, like, just there's a couple songs that just get me amped, and you're just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I can mingle now. And then those people that I talked to earlier are like, oh, okay, you're opening up, and it's like, yeah. And then we start communicating, and then bars off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like, you
Yeah.
can't shut me up. But there's other events where it's like professional. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay in my corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hate icebreakers. Don't do an icebreaker, because those, I don't know who invented them, but they suck.
Mm-hmm.
They suck. They're not. No, they don't make anyone feel comfortable. No. And if you like icebreakers, I'm sorry, but they suck. Don't bring me to an event where you're like, okay, we're gonna do an icebreaker to get to know each other. No, just sit me in a
Yeah.
corner with someone and pick a topic, and let's talk about that topic.
It's all
That that's how you start conversations, not an icebreaker. Not tell me 2 truths and a lie. Like, that's not gonna work. But it definitely drains you, especially if you're an introvert, which I know you are. Networking is definitely can be hard, but I would say if there's tools that you get amped up about that help you get amped, do those before you have to social network. Bring someone who's extroverted,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to build you as an individual and build you as a brand, who can talk about your brand, because then you can just piggyback off of what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to always do the talking, which is great. Or business cards help. If you don't want to talk a lot, get a business card. Here's my info. Do like a small little intro video for what you do. Send them the link to the intro video. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do. This is what you got. Any questions? Send me an email.
Yeah.
I respond best through email. It doesn't have to be like a face-to-face thing. Networking you as an individual, because I know you, I'd say your business cards would be your best bet.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can just hand someone a business card, or you know, get one of those little scan thingies to your Instagram
Oh, the QR
where they
code
just,
thing.
yeah, they just scan that and go to your Instagram. That's a
Yeah.
conversation starter right there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always have to talk, because sometimes you don't want to talk too much and they're just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
okay. Um, it's just something a little short and sweet, cute.
Mm-hmm.
Food is always great.
Yeah.
Put the QR code on a cookie. They
Yeah.
scan the cookie,
That's a
they
great
eat the
idea.
cookie, they ask you where the cookie come from. Boom, conversation right
Yeah.
there. You find things that you can bond over
Mm-hmm.
with an individual that will definitely help you. And if the conversation is great, you will not, your social meter will not get depleted,
Mm-hmm.
because you're having such a great time that you won't even realize that you're actually talking.
Yeah. And that's something that like, cause like if I do go out, like there's been events where like um either like I was super invested in like what someone was doing, or I had like even like if I had like a couple drinks or something, and then like I start to loosen up a bit. Like I can go up to someone and like just say, oh, like like if there's someone performing, like, oh, great job and stuff. What's your Instagram? Like just even connecting like that. Like I've done that a lot. Just like connecting with people on Instagram and stuff, and then um all we got to do after that is just like yeah, like we'll just talk, and then like yeah, like set up a time for the podcast, all that stuff. But yeah, like small stuff like that I can do, but like yeah, that's kind of like that's why I always go out with Kaya, because um she is more extroverted than me, but at the same time like we'll be having conversation, and then like once I feel comfortable and stuff, I'll be like, all right, like I'll be right back, and then like go talk to people and stuff. But yeah, like just having someone there who kind of brings that sense of comfort, where like I'm like, all right, like I feel like I can have conversation with people now. So yeah, that
Yeah.
that really helps. But yeah. So what are some I think yeah, you kind of gave one already, but like other resources and stuff where like people could go if there's ever anything, like I don't know if you guys have like a hotline, or like what other websites and like
So my particular job doesn't have a hotline per se. I can quickly pull some up for you.
mm,
So,
yeah, I'll write them down and then I'll put them in the
um,
description.
but honestly, call the first thing I would say to do is call your primary care physician, and they can recommend you to one, a counselor that your insurance takes. Because most counseling is can be insured through your insurance if you have insurance. Um, and a lot of them are switching to telehealth, um, which is also covered by insurance. If you don't want to physically go see an individual, I am actually in the process of coming up with an app with my school,
Mm-hmm.
where people can go on an app and either have a quick chat with individuals who are licensed, or if they want like a long-term communication system with a counselor, they can also do that as well. So when that launches, I let you know.
Perfect.
Um, but if you go to the American Counseling Association online, the ACA, there's a lot of resources on there, for counseling. If you want a psychology one, that's where they can actually like diagnose you. Psychiatrists can give you medications. I would personally go the counseling route. So I'm not even gonna give you the other ones. Go to a counselor first, because that's like a normal everyday thing that people should normalize counseling. And if a counselor feels that you have a severe mental illness, such as like schizophrenia, depression, which everyone can get bouts of depression. But if it's like severe depression, chronic depression, they can recommend you to a psychiatrist or a psychologist where you can get diagnosed, and then medications can come into play. I'm a strong advocate for going to see a counselor first before you get medicated, because most of the time you just need someone to talk to. So the ACA, which is the American Counseling Association, website is really great. Just normalize talking about it. There's so much stigma around mental health that I think is an issue in itself. And I think a lot of people don't know that at least 1 in 5 individuals have a mental health diagnosis that they're unaware of. So if you think about that, that's not including race, gender, age, sex, anything like that. So 1 in 5 individuals in the world has had some issues with mental health. That's a lot of people. Like a lot of people. That's in a given year. That's not like overall, that's in a given year. So that in itself, once people start recognizing that, that would definitely be helpful. I know like winter is coming, like the fall season, fall and winter, and we're gonna have like daylight savings or whatever it's called, where the sun is now not going to be as visible and vibrant. We're gonna have more darkness, and that brings on what's called seasonal depression. It's when you can't go outside as much as you can, and you're not getting enough sunlight. So taking some vitamins and minerals will definitely help boost your immune system and just boost your overall happiness. And if you can get a little bit of sunshine, that helps. But seasonal depression is a thing. Not that many people know about it. I am a strong advocate of it because my mom has seasonal depression. And she thought it was something really, seasonal depression is big, but it's not huge. It's just that you're not getting enough sunlight, so it's affecting your mood. So especially now that COVID's happening, people are locked up in their house. Get as much sunlight as you can, open your shades, because even though it may not be fall or winter, seasonal depression can still be a thing. Try not to isolate yourself. That's a thing. Unless obviously you've been diagnosed and stay 6 feet away in quarantine, but just go out and talk to people. And I'm a strong advocate for doing things solo, because you find a lot of friends that way. Like go out to eat solo, like see how you feel about that, because it all starts with yourself. If you can't sit in a room by yourself that's quiet, that's a problem. You need to be able to be comfortable sitting in silence, and be comfortable being by yourself. Because if you can't do that, that means that there's some underlying issue that you don't want to address, that you're using other people to cover.
Wow. Yeah, that's very important right there. I do have one more question. So I think we like touched upon it a little bit, but like the whole social media, do you think that has or how much of a factor do you think it plays in terms of, people who have like depression and stuff? Because I feel like now there's a lot more people kind of saying they have like a mental illness or something. And granted, like, we never really know who's being real about it and who's kind of just saying it because they think it's a trend and stuff, which I don't believe it is, but like some people are just trying to make it out that way. But how much of a factor do you think it plays?
Social media, I would say, plays like a 99.9% factor in people's lives. And when you think about it, most of the time, everything that you do is connected to a phone. With that phone comes apps like Instagram, Snapchat. And if you're cooped up in the house all day and you see people going out, drinking, doing things that you want to do, and you're in the house, that affects you. That affects your mood. You might say it doesn't, but it affects your mood. If you have a group of friends and you see those group of friends hanging out without you, it's going to affect your mood. You're going to start thinking, okay, well, why wasn't I invited? What's wrong with me? Like, why couldn't I be there? That's something huge. With like Fashion Nova and like all these other clothing stores, you see female bodies that are not the general size, like female bodies are the general average female body size, I think, is a size 10 through 14. I'm not a 10 through 14. That's not me. Um, I know a lot of people who are 10 to 14, but do I see that on social media? No.
Right.
Definitely not. So that affects someone's mood. If you're trying to lose weight and all you see on your Instagram is size 4s with like triple D's and like Kim K butts, like that's not, it's not realistic. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's just not the average. And you can't lose 3 pounds in 2 months. You're going to get affected. That's going to affect you. Are you going to talk about that? No, because you're just going to want to go back to the gym or go back to trying to diet the wrong way instead of talking and asking questions like you should be. And it affects your mood because you want to be something that social media portrays it as, and that's not the case. With what's going on now with the Black Lives Matter movement, and you see a lot of hate from certain individuals, and you're trying to figure out why they have so much hate in their heart, that affects you because you don't react that way and you don't feel that way, and you want to change the world, but you can't do that with people who are set in stone. You can do a lot of things to improve it, but you see these people arguing back and forth on social media and you feel like you're useless. It affects your mood and it affects your mental state. I know Apple has this new thing where you can set screen time, set how many hours you can be on Instagram. Use that. I try to not be on social media a lot. Just because I know I analyze things, or I won't go looking for certain things that I normally would go looking for. Like, okay, well, who's hanging out with who, or who's going where, what's trending right now. I personally will not try to look for that because I know it affects me, especially if I'm stuck in the house all day. I won't go look at it. Like, for example, last weekend, I was in clinicals from Thursday 5 p.m. to Monday 2 p.m., which means I couldn't leave my house.
Yeah.
I was stuck on Zoom 7 hours a day, and that was one of the hottest weekends in Massachusetts, and people were at the beach. I physically had to shut my social media down because I was pissed off.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do they get to do that? But I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. Like, I'm doing this to better my lifestyle and to better my education, to better the people that I'm going to help in the future. And like some of my closest friends were hanging out at the pool, and I was like, I want to be at the pool, but I couldn't. So I had to deactivate it because I was just like, I can't. Or if I'm mad at certain people and I want to have a conversation about it, but they're sitting there turning up on Instagram and Snapchat, or like putting subliminals, that just gets me upset. Like, you wouldn't talk to me, but you'll be posting on Twitter. Like, that makes no sense. That affects my mood. So I have to watch out for stuff like that to make sure it doesn't affect my mood. Because no one else can affect your mood except for you. You give people the power to make you react in an emotional way, to make you think certain things. Like, no one has the power to change your emotions, thought processes, or anything like that. They can try to convince you, but ultimately you have that decision to either accept it, decline it, think about it, bring it into your life. You have your own autonomy to do what you want with your mood and your mindset. You may need help getting there, but it's all about you, kid.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a big thing too, because deleting social, because like honestly, I tried the whole screen time thing, but like I found myself pushing back the amount of time and stuff. So it was like, or reducing the amount of time. So it was like, all right, like, is this really beneficial? Which then just led me to kind of like deleting it as a whole. And I've done that like a lot. Like, honestly, when the whole, I think it was when George Floyd was first killed, like that kind of sent me into a spiral, because for me as a black man, like just constantly seeing those images and videos and stuff, that was messing with me. So I was like, it's not that I didn't care, but it was like I need to take care of myself
Right.
because that's traumatizing to see that every
Exactly.
day. Yeah.
And if anyone came at you for having to take time to self-care, then that's a problem within them,
Hmm.
because you have to make sure that your vessel is healthy enough to continue to fight the battle that we're all fighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't fight on an empty stomach. Like that don't work.
Exactly. So like, I mean, no one has anything, and even if someone did try to say, like, I would say that same thing, or I just, all right, well, that's your thought, but like I know how I feel. I really don't have to explain myself because I understand what's going on with me. Um, but yeah, like that's like I had to really take time from that because I was like, man, I can't. If I'm not well, then I know I won't be able to do anything in the bigger picture.
Right.
Um,
And the fact that you acknowledge that you needed to take time for yourself to make sure that you were good is a win right there in itself.
mhm,
Because if you were in denial, inside you know that you wouldn't have been able to continue.
right.
But you acknowledge that you need to take a mental break and you needed the space to clear your mind and to emotionally get to you to a point where you would be able to be okay.
Hmm.
Not okay with the situation, but be okay in yourself that you can continue on,
Yeah.
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like in a counseling session, just like in life, if you need a break, take that break.
Mhm.
You go to work 7 days a week, you need a break, take the break. The job ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? Your body, it's going to go somewhere. It can deteriorate. Your mental health can go somewhere and definitely deteriorate. And those are the things that you guys need to take care of.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest reasons why um I'm kind of glad I'm on vacation because like I need to just take a break from work and being there all the time and being around residents and some people who want to catch an attitude, and I'm like I gotta control myself because I'm at work and stuff. um but yeah, like just kind of getting a break from that, like I know it's gonna help, and like when I go back, like I'm gonna feel much better. But yeah, that's a big thing too, like just I like taking breaks when you need them is something I push for. So
And I think taking breaks to do nothing is still a break. You don't
mhm.
have to be active. You don't have to go on vacation to have a vacation. You can have a vacation in your room.
Mhm. That's I actually try to tell that to my friend. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm just gonna stay here. Like even I may even like going to Boston and stuff because like there's like I've never been on a duck tour or anything like that. So like I have stuff to do, and like honestly, being at home and playing video games, that's how I relax.
And
Like
that's fine.
so, yeah, like I never see a problem with it because I know that's how I deal with stress and stuff. Like that's how I calm myself down. That's how I feel better. Um, that
You're
works
doing
for
it for
me.
you, nobody
Yeah,
else. So who
exactly.
cares?
So yeah, that's a big thing. Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of hit on everything unless there's anything else you wanna mention at all.
No, I think we covered a lot of topics today. If anyone wants to chat, get some stress off, I'm available. Um, yeah.
Right. Okay. So, do you want your Instagram in the? Because I'll put it like in the caption, but like
Yeah,
only
you
if
can
you
you
if
can
you're
you
like
can do that. You can I'm open to it. Go ahead.
okay. Word. Yeah. So
Open to sharing the love.
I'll tag Gabby because um she is like she is the best sister I never had. Um, but
No shade to your actual
well,
sister,
well,
but
yeah, like the best older sister I never had.
there
The
we
yeah,
go.
the
All right.
older yeah, the older sister I never had. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I really appreciate you.
My dog. We gonna have to cut that part.
Man,
um
she
yeah. She heard intruders, so
yeah. Well, nah, she she knows. I think she agrees with me. I think that's what that was. You know.
Yeah, she was agreeing with
Well,
you,
okay, like
definitely.
somebody else is speaking my language
Yes.
right now. But right, I'll tag you in that. Thank you again for even like having this conversation, because this was very important to me, and like I know to you as well. So thank you for that.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And this will actually will not be the last time we have a conversation, because
Definitely not,
definitely
because
like a lot
so many
more
more
to talk
topics.
about. Yeah. So this is just the beginning.